let's talk about the topic that we discussed. If you remember, we talked about marriage. It was a very interesting topic. And we talked about some of the problems or some of the things that are, happening in our country when it comes to weddings. We talked about the cost of a wedding. We talked about who usually pays for the wedding, and where does the money go. So we talked a little bit about this. And then we compared the situation in our country. We compared it to the situation in the UK. And we talked about their wedding habits, or what happens, what goes on, and the costs. They also, in this article, we also read about the costs. And we read about an interesting case of Olivia, who's divorced 3 times and married 3 times, and which is a bit strange because in the UK, many people are not marrying anymore compared to the 70s, for example. So the statistics are quite low. So we talked about this, and of course we discussed phrasal verbs. So we talked about the 4 types of phrasal verbs. We agreed that type 1 is the only phrasal verb that doesn't have an object. So we started with type 1. After that, type 2, 3, and 4, all of these have an object. So they are the same. All of them have an object. But with type 3, the object can be after the phrasal verb or in the middle. It depends. So it can be both ways, if the object is a noun, of course. But in type 2 and in type 4, it has to be at the end. It has to be after the phrasal verb, the object. So we talked a little bit about this. We finished exercise number 5, if I remember correctly. Everything was okay. So we still got some listening to do. So here we're going to listen about some of the world's wedding customs and wedding traditions. And we also want to talk about maybe the story of these wedding traditions, how they started, where did they start, who started them. And here you can see 6 traditions. We've got the best man in photo A. We've got the wedding cake, photo B, the honeymoon, wedding rings, confetti, and women proposing. So my first question before we listen is how many of these traditions do we have? Do we have all of them in our Libyan weddings, or some of them, not all of them? What do you think? I think this is your topic of expertise, women. This is your topic. Which of these 6 habits do we have in our country? Do we have all of them, Hajib? What do you think? You're the expert. I think you're gonna get married soon, right?
Yeah, I think F, women proposing.
Do we have
Maybe
this?
next generation. No, we didn't.
We don't have this. I thought we did.
No.
No.
Maybe next generation, yes.
But do you think some women are open to this idea? Some Libyan women are open to the idea, or do you think this is something still too strange?
Yeah, some women like this idea.
Really?
But culture, yeah.
So they don't have a problem asking the man they love, or their, I don't know, fiance or boyfriend or whatever. They don't have a problem asking him for marriage.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So F, we don't have F right now. Okay. What about confetti? Do we use confetti in our weddings?
Yeah, sometimes we use it.
Okay. I think wedding rings, we still use them in our weddings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wedding cake.
Right.
Yeah, some of them they use wedding cake.
I think all weddings have a wedding cake. Right? Yeah, so it's an important part, I think.
Nowadays,
not all of them?
No. Nowadays as well.
You really? You mean there's no husband and wife cutting the cake together? They don't do that anymore?
Sometimes it's not a cake, it's a fake cake. They do that nowadays.
I see.
So,
but why? Is it because the wedding cakes are expensive? They use a fake cake?
Yeah, and yes, also the people didn't eat it because groom came late. So
I see.
So they didn't. But some of them, they use wedding cake as a real cake.
But this means the groom has to come early so everybody can eat it.
Yeah.
Come early, after that leave, after that come.
Interesting. Yeah, I think this should be the solution.
But now in Corona, now in Corona the wedding became early, so the groom came not too late, so they use the wedding cake nowadays.
Are there still a lot of weddings now in Corona?
Yeah, most of my friends, they getting married in Corona.
That's crazy.
50% of them, they getting married.
Good chance.
Sorry, Sana, what did you say?
Yeah. It's very good teacher nowadays because it's not to spend a lot of money.
Interesting, because not a lot of guests, so it's a good time to have a wedding now.
Yeah, a few guests. Yes.
Fewer guests.
to save some money.
Yes, it will be good. At least so you can put this money in furniture or gold or the honeymoon or something better than the wedding, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, about the honeymoon, do we still have, classical honeymoons where the husband and wife, they go together, they travel after wedding? Is this still a big part? When I was younger, I remember this was a big part of Libyan weddings. But is it still a big part? Do people still do it?
It depended on the groom. Because
you mean if
but
the groom
nowadays, because of Corona, a lot of them, they go to the honeymoon because they didn't the groom didn't do the wedding party, so they save the money to the honeymoon.
So you're saying that in during this pandemic during Corona, you mean they're canceling the party and they're just a fat hand and honeymoon and that's it?
Yeah, a lot of them, they do the honeymoon instead of party.
Okay, what do you think of this? Do you think it's better than having a party?
Yeah, sure.
Is it cheaper if you just if it's just the honeymoon, is it a lot cheaper?
It's not a lot cheaper or expensive, but it depended, and they have a good days together. But in the party, they they just invite the gossip women. So why?
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, at least the honeymoon, they can have their own time together, but in the wedding party, it's not for them, it's for the family, for other people, for the guests.
Yes, and also it's a good memory in the future.
True. Okay.
I think it's more. Yeah.
Yeah, I get your point. I think you're right. But do we have a best man? This tradition, do we have it here? The bridesmaid and the best man, do we have this idea or?
No.
I don't think we have this idea. What do you think, Sana? What's your opinion about these 6 traditions? Do you agree with Hajar that we have the wedding rings, confetti, the honeymoon, the wedding cake, but you think we don't
Yeah.
have? Yeah.
No, yes, yes.
Mm.
I agree with Hajar.
Mm. But what's your opinion about women proposing? Do you like this idea?
Well, because it's, I think nowadays maybe there, but it's not few, not a lot of women. Yeah.
But for example, if you like a
She
man,
proposed.
would you propose to a man you like?
No.
No, even
No.
if you like him.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. No.
but why not?
Mm.
Do you think
Because
it's
our tradition and not like this. Yeah.
so it's not part of our tradition for a woman to ask the man to marry him.
Yes.
But I think
But
in religion we
there
have
is a
stories like this,
family.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
But I
but
think
not the girl herself. Her father, I think.
yeah.
Maybe he like a good man, or her brother. Maybe his friend, or they
arrange it. You mean?
told him,
Sometimes
why are you getting married?
her
Yes.
uncle. Sometimes her uncle.
You mean sometimes
Yeah.
her uncle
For
knows a person, and they ask the other man to marry their daughter or niece,
he
or
look for the he look
he's
this
looking for
man
a
he
man
look for
the husband.
no, yes, but and even yes, and even this maybe his friend look for women, and yes, I have girls and I can marry her, but like this I think
I
there
see.
like this.
But in the stories you're talking about, it's not the woman who asks the man. That's what you're saying, right?
No, no,
She doesn't ask directly.
no, but
I see.
yes, yes, but I don't know if there is maybe there some women do like this. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it will happen in the future. Okay. So now we're gonna listen to a recording from the CD, and it says here you're gonna listen to a radio program, and this program is gonna talk about wedding traditions. So, but before we listen, I think we need to check some of the words. So we have this word ancestors, propose to someone, kidnap, a vein, a leap year. Let's take a look at these words. Ancestors, do you know what it means? Sana and Hajar, do you know what we mean when we say ancestors?
No, me no.
Okay, Hajar, do you know this word, ancestors? Have you seen it before? Ancestors, their ancestors. Okay, so let me explain ancestors. So ancestors are people who, it means your parents, your grandparents, your grandparents' parents, your grandparents' parents' parents. Do you get the idea? It means where you come from, your family. Your father, your father's father, your mother, your mother's mother, your grandmother's mother, your grandmother's grandma, and so on. Do you get the idea? This is the meaning of ancestors. So what's this in Arabic, Sana? What do you think it means?
زي ما نقولوا يعني السلالة متاعك أو حاجة زي هيك.
Yes.
كيف نقولها
صح. يعني أجدادك وسلالتك وأصلك this is the meaning ancestors. بالضبط زي ما قلتها صح. عادة سلالة اللي هي يقولوا ancestry، هي تغييرة بسيطة اللي هي هيك ancestry اللي هي السلالة و ancestors اللي هم الأشخاص نفسهم يعني اللي هم الجدود نفسهم. Do you get the idea؟ يعني الكلمتين لهم علاقة ببعض. ancestry ancestors اللي هم جدودك أو أجداد الشخص. propose to someone, I think it's clear, right? When someone asks someone for marriage. So kidnap, do you know what kidnap means? Sana?
Yes.
Yes, okay. A vein, do you know what a vein means?
No.
A vein, okay. A vein is a little tube or little tubes in your body that take blood to your heart. For example, when you see your hand here, you can see blue lines. Do you see the blue lines?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are veins. They're called veins. So what do we call them in Arabic? Veins.
وريد.
وريد. بالضبط. Because a vein takes blood to the heart. واللي ياخذ the blood from the heart to the body اللي هو عكسه بيكون اللي هو الشريان اللي هو يقولوا له بالانجليزي an artery. يعني عكس vein an artery. So a vein from the body to the heart, with artery from the heart to the body عكسه. So this is the meaning of vein. Okay, and then we have a leap year. Do you know this word, a leap year? Have you seen it before, leap year?
Yes, it's.
It happens. It happens every.
Yeah, it happens for every 4 years.
Every 4 years. Correct. Because every 4 years.
Yes, كبيسة سنة كبيسة.
Yes, we have the 29th of February. So every 4 years, in every 4 years, February has 29 days instead of 28. Okay, so this is a leap year. Okay, so these are some of the words. Now let's listen to the radio program. And after that, let's try to put these traditions in the same order that they talk about them. So let's do it. So this is track 6. Okay, here it is. So we're going to listen and put them in the same order that they talk about them. So let's pay attention to the order.
Track 6. Today I'm talking to Wendy Robinson, whose new book, I Do, is a history of wedding traditions.
Hello.
Wendy, first of all, we should start with the most obvious question. When did our ancestors start getting married to each other?
Oh, weddings have been around since the beginning of civilization, but they haven't always been as peaceful as they are now. In parts of Europe around 2,000 years ago, if there weren't enough single women in the village, men often went and kidnapped a woman from another village.
Really?
Yes, and the man always took a close friend with him to help with the kidnapping, which is where the tradition of the best man comes from.
That's interesting.
That's also why the best man stands next to the groom during the wedding ceremony, so he could protect the bride if her family tried to come and take her back.
Well, I'm pleased that things have moved on a bit since then. And what about wedding rings? Where did they originate?
That tradition was started by the ancient Egyptians, And the wedding ring is always worn on the third finger of the left hand because the ancient Egyptians believed the vein of that finger was the vein of love and ran directly to the heart.
Oh, right. And what about wedding cakes?
Well, they've been around since ancient Greek and Roman times. The Greeks used to throw small cakes at the bride and groom, while the Romans used to break a cake over the bride's head. Both of these were symbols of fertility, to help the bride have lots of children.
And am I right in thinking that's why people throw confetti too?
Yes, exactly. Guests used to throw wheat, rice or nuts coated in sugar over the happy couple to help them have children, and also to wish for a successful harvest. Now, of course, people tend to throw confetti instead.
OK, so then the happy couple go on their honeymoon. Where did that tradition originate?
Well, one theory says this started in Babylonia about 4,000 years ago. After the wedding, the bride's father gave his new son-in-law all the mead, that's beer made from honey, the man could drink. This was drunk for the next month, and as the calendar was based on the moon, this period of time after the wedding became known as the honeymoon.
And in the UK, women are traditionally allowed to propose to men on the 29th of February. Why is that?
This dates back hundreds of years, when the leap year wasn't recognised by law. For this reason, women believed that they didn't have to follow the usual traditions, so they felt they could ask their men to marry them.
And what about other traditions, such as...
Okay, so what's the first tradition they talked about in the program?
The best man.
Right.
Best man, yes.
Yes, the number one was the best man. And number two?
Wedding
D.
rings.
Correct, D, the wedding rings. Right, after that?
B.
The wedding cake. Correct. After the wedding cake?
Confetti.
Confetti. E.
That's correct. And then after that, number 5?
C.
The honeymoon.
The honeymoon, right. And the last one was?
F.
Correct.
Formal of proposing.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know, what do you think of the history behind these traditions? What did you remember from the honeymoon? How did they explain it? What did they say about the honeymoon? Because they mentioned something a bit specific.
From Babylonia, or like this.
From Babylonia, okay.
Yes,
Babylonia.
about the country, from the
بابلونيا اللي هي بابل، حضارة بابل، البابليين. بابلونيا هذه معناها.
I don't hear very well because
it's a drink. Yeah, it's a drink. It's like a drink. Yeah.
The story was
was
about a drink.
The honey.
But was it? Did they drink honey?
The groom maybe.
Or what did they drink?
Yes.
No, something related to honey.
They drink honey with water. Yes. It's water with. I don't know what.
Okay, let me show you the script, because they made an interesting point, a bit specific. Track 3. Track 6, number 3. Here, let me show you. So I'm going to repeat this the radio program for you, and this way you can check the new words. Okay, here it is. Where is it? Is it track 6? Track 6.
Yes. CD3 track 6.
أيوة here بالضبط هنا here. Okay, so we start here. Okay, presenter. Today I'm talking to blah blah blah. Let's listen one more time.
Track 6.
Today I'm talking to Wendy Robinson, whose new book, I Do, is a history of wedding traditions.
Hello.
Wendy, first of all, we should start with the most obvious question. When did our ancestors start getting married to each other?
Oh, weddings have been around since the beginning of civilization, but they haven't always been as peaceful as they are now. In parts of Europe around 2,000 years ago, if there weren't enough single women in the village, men often went and kidnapped a woman from another village.
Really?
Yes, and the man always took a close friend with him to help with the kidnapping, which is where the tradition of the best man comes from.
That's interesting.
That's also why the best man stands next to the groom during the wedding ceremony, so he could protect the bride if her family tried to come and take her back.
Well, I'm pleased that things have moved on a bit since then. And what about wedding rings? Where did they originate?
That tradition was started by the ancient Egyptians, and the wedding ring is always worn on the third finger of the left hand because the ancient Egyptians believed the vein of that finger was the vein of love and ran directly to the heart.
Oh, right. And what about wedding cakes?
Well, they've been around since ancient Greek and Roman times. The Greeks used to throw small cakes at the bride and groom, while the Romans used to break a cake over the bride's head. Both of these were symbols of fertility, to help the bride have lots of children.
And am I right in thinking that's why people throw confetti too?
Yes, exactly. Guests used to throw wheat, rice or nuts coated in sugar over the happy couple to help them have children, and also to wish for a successful harvest. Now, of course, people tend to throw confetti instead.
OK, so then the happy couple go on their honeymoon. Where did that tradition originate?
Well, one theory says this started in Babylonia about 4,000 years ago. After the wedding, the bride's father gave his new son-in-law all the mead, that's beer made from honey, the man could drink. This was drunk for the next month, and as the calendar was based on the moon, this period of time after the wedding became known as the honeymoon.
And in the UK, women are traditionally allowed to propose to men on the 29th of February. Why is that?
This dates back hundreds of years, when the leap year wasn't recognised by law. For this reason, women believed that they didn't have to follow the usual traditions, so they felt they could ask their men to marry them.
And what about other traditions, such as...
Okay. So we have this word. Can you see this word? Mead. So what's mead? After it, you have the explanation. What does it say?
It's beer made from
Beer
honey.
made from honey.
From honey.
Yes. Mead is an alcoholic drink. It's made from honey.
Yeah.
So this is the gift that the father-in-law gives to the son. So he gives him a lot of quantity. He gives him, a big quantity, a lot of mead. They give him enough mead to keep him for 1 month. And so it started this idea of honeymoon. And I think it's a very good idea because this way the father-in-law can help the son, stay drunk and forget the tragedy and the big mistake he made by marrying the daughter. So this way, he stays drunk and forgets all the pain and all the misery. So it's an intelligent solution, I think. we should bring this tradition to Libya. Okay, so this is the story of the honeymoon. Okay, and then also the story of women proposing. I think it's also funny, right? Because it says women, because the leap year, it says, wasn't recognized by law. So this way, women felt that because this year or because this date wasn't official, so maybe they can break the tradition. It's a bit like this. This is the idea. So it's kind of interesting. Anyways, this was the story of wedding traditions around the world. So we can go back and take a look at our next exercise. So let's go back. Okay, here we are. Not here. Not here, not here. Here it is. Okay, so there's this little extra part. I think I'm gonna skip it. I'm just gonna explain what it is very quickly, but we don't want to waste too much time with it. Okay, so here, let me mention the story of the letter T and the letter D. When do we pronounce it? And when do we... It's not that it's silent, but it's not pronounced very strongly. The rule says we don't usually hear T or D, the phonetic sound T and D, at the end of words when the next word starts with a consonant. So this means if you have a word that ends with a T or a D, and the next word starts with a consonant, the T and D are kind of light. They're not emphasized. Sometimes they're not very, they're not very obvious. Like here, if we take these two examples, and I think you probably already do it when you speak without noticing it, but here we have a bit of an explanation. Let's use the first sentence as an example. So it says here, Wendy, first of all, so the T is very clear here because you have a vowel after it. First of all, so the T is clear, you can hear it clearly. But in the second example, when we have should start, notice it, we don't say should start, right? We say it very lightly, should start. We should start, we should start. It's almost silent, we should start. Don't know if you noticed this. We should start, we should start. It's like you're jumping from should start. The D is very light, almost silent. Then here again, so here's another position. So I'm just going to show you all the positions in the first sentence. So here the T is strong and clear because we have an O, a vowel sound. Here it's not very strong, it's not clear. Here it's quite strong and clear. Start with, because the W, it opens on a vowel, so we can consider it kind of a vowel sound. Start with. So the T is clear. Again, the T here is clear because we have a vowel. Most obvious. The T is clear. Okay, so this is just a little pronunciation rule to keep track of when to make the T and the D strong and emphatic at the end of words and when to make it light and almost silent. Okay, that's all. Let's take another. Okay, our last speaking exercise. So we don't want to waste too much time on this too, because we talked quite a lot about weddings, but I'd like some quick notes because I think this is a topic where maybe you have more information than me, so you might help me understand a little more about this. So it says here, think of a wedding you've been to. Make notes on these things. So here I just want you to remember the last wedding you've been to. Or any wedding, it doesn't have to be the last one, any wedding, and tell me what do you remember. And talk about a few things. Just mention when and where this wedding was, the bride and the groom. If maybe the bride is a relative or a friend, you can say the bride was a relative or a friend, or you can the opposite, the groom was a relative or a friend or whatever. Other guests. You can make a comment about the other guests, the ceremony, how was it? And when we mean the ceremony, it means the wedding itself, the reception, the meal, other interesting points. So let's start with Sana here. Sana, tell us about any wedding you remember. It could be about anybody, and you don't, of course, need to.
From the long time.
You haven't been to weddings for a very long time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us.
Before the revolution, the last one before the revolution.
Wow, that's so long ago. Before the revolution. Okay, okay.
Yes. After
And
that, I
you quit
decide
weddings.
not to go to the wedding. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, but that last wedding you went to, did you know the bride or did you know the groom?
No, the bride.
Okay, okay.
Because my aunt daughter.
So your cousin, you mean? Your aunt's
No,
daughter
my
is your
aunt. Yes.
your aunt's daughter is your cousin.
Mm.
So it was your cousin's wedding.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So your cousin's wedding. All right. What about the guests? Were there lots of guests? Did a lot of people come to the wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All the hall.
It was full.
Yeah. Full the hall. Yeah.
Okay. And what did you think of the ceremony? The whole thing, the wedding, the meal, the reception? Did you enjoy all of it? Was it nice? Was there anything you didn't like?
Yes. No, but it's everything. It's good, I think.
Okay. So you enjoyed all the parts of the wedding.
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything interesting or
But
different?
there is no big cake, and every table there is a small cake.
Nice. So a small cake like a cupcake, or a piece, or a cut.
No, not
piece.
cup. No. Cake. One cake, maybe 10 pieces.
Each person, you mean each guest
One
had
cake,
10 pieces?
No. Every table. Because at the table, I think it should be maybe 10, maybe 12, like this.
I see.
Yes.
So there's a piece of cake for each guest. And the piece, is it cut? Is it like does it look like a triangle, something like this?
No. It's whole cake, and the guest cut the cake.
So every table has a cake.
Yeah.
And then the guests can cut it as they like.
Yes.
Interesting. Do people still do this in weddings today?
I don't know nowadays. I don't know really. Because I don't know nowadays.
No, they didn't.
They don't do this anymore? Is it an
Maybe
old tradition?
Expensive.
No. Oh, yeah.
I see. Okay.
No,
So this is
they use mini cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. What about you, Hajar? Tell us about, maybe you have a more updated version of weddings. Tell us about maybe the last wedding you've been to. Any notes, about the bride, groom, any interesting things, the guests and the whole wedding?
The February was, I have 3 weddings.
This February, you mean?
My friend. Yeah.
Wow.
One of them, the bride was my friend. And the other 2, the groom was my cousins. So yeah,
nice.
We had fun.
So
but in Corona.
In Corona.
The party is not big. So it's the small wedding, or only for family and friends. For my friend's wedding was was in a hall,
Uh-huh.
and the guests was just 100, just her family and her friends only, and the groom's family. Also, my
Small
cousin's
number.
wedding was in the, yeah, was just Fatha, and then we went to the bride's party. Yeah, because the number of the guests was just 200, dependent on the hall. And some of them they use just 100, some of them 200.
So you're saying that the whole, it tells you how many people are allowed. So
yeah,
they tell you.
Yeah, depending on how big is.
You're talking about size. I thought it's because of Corona, the administration of
yeah, because of Corona, they
tell you you can't have more than 100.
Yeah, some of them 100, some of them 200. It depended on the how big is it, the whole.
I see.
Because
and did everybody?
Some of them it's too big.
I see. And did everybody see it separately?
The table before the Corona, it has 12 chairs, but now just 4 and 6, and only the same family sit together.
I see.
You can't. You are not allowed to
sit in another table.
Another chair to sit with any. Yes.
Okay. So things are a bit different. Okay. And is there anything? Do you think there's a trend, or do you think there's something similar or something new in all these 3 weddings? Is there something which is similar in all 3 of them, or something which is, I don't know? What do you think? Something in common?
There are no. It's any other wedding party, traditional one.
I see. So there is nothing too different.
Nothing new.
I see. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are, just some questions about weddings and some of the differences and similarities between our weddings and maybe weddings in the UK. All right. So let's move on to another topic. So here it says asking for, giving, and refusing permission. So this is kind of an interesting topic. In this lesson, we're going to focus on how to ask for permission, how to give permission, and how to refuse permission. So these are the 3 things we're going to talk about. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about some general questions here. So the first question, it says, when did you last stay with relatives or friends? So this means you didn't stay at your own house, you stayed with someone else. Maybe you stayed with your relatives, maybe you stayed with your friends. Sada, can you remember the last time you stayed with any relatives or friends or something?
For me, I don't like, but for a long time, I went to my grandmother and stayed there because my house do some work in my house.
You mean some renovation?
Yeah.
You can say renovations. You are having some renovations. Renovations at home, or you can say refurbishment. Refurbished. So this is, you mean, it's, I think renovation double N, but let me check. Okay, so so here we have renovation and refurbishment. But let me check. I think renovation is it's double N. I want to check the spelling. No, it's one N. Okay. Okay. And how long did you stay, Sana? Did you stay for a long time?
No, only maybe 3 days. Only 3 days.
Okay. And what about the opposite situation? When was the last time that maybe some relatives stayed with you at home?
My brother, when he comes from Musrata, and he with her wife and 2 kids.
So he comes with his wife and his children.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Especially when there's like Eid, and he spent time with us.
Okay, I see.
Sometimes when he has vacation and come here in Tripoli and stay with us.
Interesting. Okay, but usually when they come up, sorry, when they come and stay with you, then are there any problems? I don't know, any problems when he comes? Maybe noise, maybe.
For me, yeah, for me, because I used to live only me and my sister and father, mother. The house, it's very quiet, and but when he comes and stay with us, because he has 2 daughters, and start to play, and it's very noisy, and I feel headache, and I don't feel comfortable when he comes. I don't know why. Because
Okay.
maybe I used to stay with the quiet
Yes,
house. That's why maybe.
I agree. I think maybe because you got used to living in a quiet home, so when your brother and nieces come, it becomes quite noisy. Okay, can you tell me what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of staying with someone else? For example, like when you mentioned your grandmother, when you stayed with your grandmother, what were the best things about that, and what were the worst things?
The best thing, maybe it's been a good time with them, especially, yes, and cooking together and go to the kitchen together, and this is it's a good time for me.
Nice.
And chatting, and yeah.
Okay, so these are the good points.
Yeah.
But
The
what
bad
about the
thing
bad
is,
points?
I think, is the sleep. I couldn't sleep. This is the problem.
So because it's not, you're not used to a different bed. It's a different bed.
Yeah. Yes.
But was it just the first night you couldn't sleep, or was it for the whole period you couldn't sleep?
I think yes. Whole period, maybe. Maybe even the I don't know, because my grandmother has a nurse. I hear that
She's a
my mother
nurse.
when he sleep. Yes.
She snores.
No, nurse.
She
Nurse.
snores.
Yes.
She snores. So she's a
That's
noisy sleeper.
why.
I
Yes, I
see.
couldn't sleep.
So it's not just the bed, it's also the noise because of your grandmother.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
But really, it's a good time with uh, that time it's good, I think. Spend good time with them.
Okay, okay. So this is just an example, because here we're going to discuss, just like your story in this listening track, we're going to see a similar story to what you talked about when you have people who are maybe your relatives or your friends staying with you. And what happens, and you know, some of the good things, the difficult things, and how you can ask for things, how you can ask for permission. Maybe you want to use the washing machine, maybe you want to use a computer, maybe, you know, because you're not in your home, so you have to ask to use things, right? So we're going to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And we're also going to learn the opposite. So if someone stays with you, for example, if your brother and your nieces, when they come here, I'm sure maybe they want to play with something, or maybe they want to use something. So they can ask you, can I do this? Can I use this? Can I check this? Can I? So this is all about permission. So first of all, it says, look at the photos and then listen to the conversations and then answer these questions. So let's start with the photos. So can you see the first photo here? What do you see in the first photo? What can you see here? And what can you see, Hash?
Maybe the mom and his daughter.
Mom and her daughter.
Her daughter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And where are they?
In the kitchen.
Okay. And what do you think they're talking about?
The girl, she wants to go out.
Okay. Do you think the girl is asking for something?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But why do they have this?
I think the mom said no.
No, she said, there's no going out. Our daughters don't just go out. We are a traditional family. Do you think you're in the UK? No, you stay at home. No going out. Maybe she said something like this to her. Okay, let me show you the other photo, Hajar. Maybe you have another guess here. Here we have Charlie and Mike. What do you think is going on here? Do you think he also wants to go out?
No, the boys didn't ask for going out. Maybe he needs some money. Or he wants to use his father's car.
Okay. I see. All right, let's find out what's going on between these people, and let's find out if it's really.
If you remember the Rebecca and Charlie, yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Sana.
If you remember, the Rebecca and Charlie has a.
They have a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's small. I think it's not.
So this means Rebecca.
I don't know.
Maybe.
He growing up.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Harry. Maybe the baby is taking hormones and proteins. Maybe he grew up very quickly.
Yeah, maybe.
And now he's as tall as his father.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a cat that grows up very quickly.
But yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's not.
It's not his
children.
Son. Good point, Sana.
No.
I think you're actually right, Sana.
I think no.
Yeah, I agree with you, because
maybe there is maybe relevant.
Relatives, you mean? Maybe relatives or friends.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right, because Mike and also Ella, Mike and Ella, I don't think they're children of Rebecca and Charlie. Maybe friends, maybe relatives, maybe, I don't know, something else.
Relatives, because the Mike and Ella it's looks like adult.
You think maybe they're brother and sister, Ella and Mike?
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's find out. Let's see. So let's listen. So it says here. Yeah, let's confirm this. Let's see if you're right or not. It says here, listen, look at the photos. So we looked at the photos, and now it says, listen to the conversations and answer these questions. All right, so this means we're gonna listen and then we can answer the questions. So let me, here it is.
Track 8. Conversation 1.
Morning, Ella. Sleep well?
Yes, like a log. What's the time?
About 11:30.
Really? I've been asleep for nearly 12 hours.
Well, I'm sure it'll take a few days to recover. It's a long flight from Delhi.
Yeah, it took about 11 hours, and we didn't sleep at all on the plane. Mike's still fast asleep. I'm starving. Can I make myself some breakfast?
Yes, of course you can. Help yourself. You know where everything is.
Thanks. And thanks a lot for letting us stay, Rebecca. That's really kind of you.
No problem. Stay as long as you like. It's nice to have the company. Is there anything else you need?
Well, all our clothes are absolutely filthy from all the travelling. May I use your washing machine?
Actually, I was just going to put some washing in. I need some clean clothes for Harry, but you can use it later if you like.
Great, thanks.
So, what are your plans?
Well, I need to look for a job, actually. We spent all our money on the India trip.
You could talk to Charlie. Apparently they need a new PA in the office.
Really? That's interesting. I'll talk to him about it later. Oh, it's much colder here than in Delhi. Do you mind if I borrow a jumper?
No, not at all. They're in the bottom drawer in our bedroom. Pick whichever one you like.
Great, thanks a lot. Be back in a minute.
Conversation 2.
Oh, Mike. What's it like to be back in the UK?
Well, it's quite strange, actually. We were only in India for a month, but it feels like we were away for a year. But it's very nice to be back.
And when are we going to see your photos?
Oh, they're all still on our camera at the moment. Is it okay if I use your laptop to upload some photos?
Sorry, I left mine at work. But I'm sure Rebecca will let you use hers.
Thanks a lot. Then I can show them to you and Rebecca later if you like.
Yeah, good idea. We could do it after dinner.
Oh, I have another big favour to ask you. Would you mind if I borrowed your car sometime this week? My brother lives about 20 miles away and I haven't seen him for ages.
Sorry, it's only insured for Rebecca and myself. But we can drop you at the station whenever you like.
No problem. I just thought I'd ask.
Is there anything else you need?
Do you think I could use your landline to call my parents? I said I would phone them today and I don't have any credit left on my mobile.
Yes, of course. Go ahead. The phone's in the front room by the window.
Thanks a lot.
While you do that, I'll get Rebecca's laptop so you can upload those photos.
Thanks.
Okay, so what's the relationship between Ella and Rebecca and also Mike and Charlie? What is it?
Are relatives?
Are they did they say they were relatives?
No.
No, I don't hear. I don't hear what's the relationship between
Maybe
them.
they are friends.
They're just friends.
Yeah.
They're friends. Because do you remember
Yeah.
when we talked about India, the lesson when we talked about going to India? Do you remember that lesson?
Yes.
Yes.
So now in this story, Ella and Mike, they are back from India.
Mm.
So maybe they came back and I don't know why they're staying with their friends, but maybe their house is, I don't know, some renovation, refurbishment. Maybe they can't stay in their home. Maybe Rebecca and Charlie, they live near the airport. So they just stayed here for one night to sleep and go back. I don't know the reason, but anyway, so they're back from India. This is the story. So let's try to cover these questions. The first one in the first conversation between Ella and Rebecca. So how long has Ella been asleep? How long has she been asleep?
I think 12 hours.
Correct. She mentioned 12 hours, right? And how long does Rebecca say that Ella and Mike can stay? How long can they stay?
Maybe I hear 2 days, but I don't know. It's 2 days.
I think she said something else. I don't know if you
No, I
remember.
didn't.
Do you remember when she said you can stay as long as you like? Did you hear Rebecca saying this to Ella? Because Ella said, thank you for having us. And then Rebecca said, no problem, stay as long as you like. So this means Rebecca doesn't really mind her friend staying with them, okay? And then the last part, the last question, why does Rebecca suggest that Ella should talk to Charlie? I don't know if you remember the last part of the conversation.
Look for the job, I think.
Right.
Charlie.
That's right, because Charlie, they're looking for a PA. So PA means personal assistant. So PA is like a secretary. PA, personal assistant. It's a bit like a secretary. So Charlie's job, they're looking for a PA. So Ella, maybe she can apply and she can get the job. Okay, now second conversation, the one between Mike and Charlie. How long were Mike and Ella away for? How long did they stay in India? Do you remember?
1 month. 1 month.
1 month? Correct.
Maybe.
That's correct. They stayed 1 month. And what about Mike's brother? How far away does he live? They mentioned the distance.
35 or something like that.
What do you think, Sana?
No, I couldn't catch this.
I couldn't catch this.
Conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So he said it's 20 miles. 20. He lives 20 miles away. 20 miles. Okay. And the last question, why can't Mike phone his parents on his phone?
I think there is...
because he hadn't have a credit or something.
Yes.
Credit card, yes.
That's correct. He doesn't have any phone credit. He has no credit. ما فيش رصيد التليفون. So he asked for permission to use the landline. الخط الأرضي.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. So now let's see if you can remember the next part of the question. Don't worry if you're not sure. Okay. So this part of the question. Let's see if everything appears. Okay, everything appears. So we have two questions. Let's do the first one first, and then we can do the second one next. And let's start with the first one. So here, I'd like you to complete the gaps using the words in the box. So we have jumper, car, washing machine, landline, breakfast, laptop. So Sanaa, what about number one? Can I make myself some?
Breakfast.
Correct. And number two? What do you think number two is?
I think washing machine.
I think you're right. Let's use it and then we can check. Sanaa, Hajar, you disagree?
I think it's car. May I use your car?
Okay, let's write both and then we'll check.
Yeah.
Let's see who's right and who's wrong. Okay, number three, do you mind if I borrow a
jumper?
A jumper, okay. And is it okay if I use your something to upload some photos? I think this one is a bit easy.
Laptop.
No, I think it's a laptop too. And then it says, would you mind if I borrowed your something sometime this week?
Car.
Maybe car here.
Car. Here is car. Yeah.
Car.
So this means the first one is washing machine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's change the first answer. What about the last question, the last gap? What do you think the answer is?
Landline.
Landline. Landline, okay. And then what I want you to do now, I want you to match these 6 sentences that we just completed. I want you to match them with A, B, C, D, E, F. So, because all of these are questions in number 1. So the first part, all of these are questions. Let me just put them in a little box for you. So these are the questions. Okay, let's use another color. So these are the questions and these are the answers in the bottom. So I'd like you to tell me what was the answer.